Hey guys, don't turn away because Hope's not sitting here. Come on, give me a shot. It is Ron and Hope, unfiltered, real, raw, and relevant. And she's doing Come Higher. She's got the ladies. I forgot how many she had. I think about a dozen ladies. And they're booked up like all the way through next year. So she does, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them a year. And they last from like, she has to go in on a Tuesday and prepare. And they last from like a Wednesday to a Saturday morning, something like that. And so there's always going to be probably 8 to 10 times a year where you're just going to have to deal with me. And when I'm best, when I'm by myself, at maybe in a conversational style, doing some things that I think have maybe helped me, things that have maybe changed my life, or things that have affected my life in a positive way. But what you don't get with the absence of Hope is the banter of going back and forth. I know this past weekend in the church service, we showed a clip of me and Hope talking about when I'm driving. And basically I'm cracking on the way she does, and she's busting on the way I'm driving, this and that and the other. And it was, everybody in the building was laughing by the time the clip was over. I can't bring you that by myself because I'm not a comedian. But when we get together, there's a lot of comedic value to our podcast. I'm glad you're here. I want to first of all start by saying this. My podcast only lasts about a half hour. I can't do the Joe Rogan 3-hour thing. I think I've got too much ADD for that. I don't claim that in a bad way. Sometimes I think a touch of that helps you because you can multitask. But it is hard for me to dial in on something 3 hours. Whenever I pull up podcasts, I'll pull up 10-minute segments of people's podcasts broken down because I don't have the bandwidth nor the time to sit down and listen 2 or 3 hours of something. So intentionally, I've just decided to keep mine at about 30 minutes. I'm big on trying to give credit. And there's something I want to speak about, and I don't know who to give credit to. So if you see it, that's where I saw it. If you're the one who did this, thank you for it. I give you credit for it. Here again, I say these principles are not original with me. However, my thoughts on these principles are original with me. So let me make that straight. I have people use my stuff and I give them permission to. I tell my pastors, I tell guys with me, I give them my notes and preach it, put your name on it. But boy, I'm gonna tell you, everybody don't feel that way. So the long and short of it, if I was not paying attention, because I didn't see myself really reusing it in this way, but I felt like coming in here almost impressed by the Lord, that this was something I needed to talk about because it was gonna benefit somebody. I'm at the age in life where you do reevaluate. I don't have many regrets. I wouldn't trade places with anybody. I love the life God has given me, the people I've been called to, the places I've been called to, and I feel very blessed and I feel very fortunate, and there's a sense of gratitude that rolls with me in and out of every day of my life. I'm a never should have been anything. I was never voted most likely to do anything. So every day I get up, and the fact that I get to talk to as many people as you is nothing really short of a miracle to me. And so I don't take anything for granted. But I am at the place in my life where I have enough life in the rearview mirror to reevaluate. What would you have done different? I'm not an old man. I'm young at heart, young in mind and thought, but I'm not a youngster anymore either. I'll be turning 57 next month. So a guy 57's got a little bit in the rearview mirror. Plus I started being a senior leader so early in my life, age 21, that, my tenure is very, very long. Not because I'm old, but because I started so young. Wish I would have had the 5 or 6 or 7 years I could have trained under a great man of God. I wish I could have carried somebody's briefcase and observed and learned and served. That door was not open to me. It was not afforded to me. So I took the doors God did give me, and I've tried to make the best of them. It was not the best path in the world. I sure could have used some wisdom. But I took my experiences, I tried to learn from my mistakes, and here I am. But I do have a few things I look back on, and I would do these things differently. And I saw somebody who put this Instagram post, and it was literally an Instagram post, and Hope held it up and said, this is pretty good. And I read them, she put it down, I said, hold a minute, pull that back up. And there were 10 things somebody were talking about they would have done differently. I wouldn't have done all 10 differently, but I did jot down 5. And I said, I agree with that one. I agree with that. But I've come to this point, I didn't plan on reusing it. It was just something I typed in my phone for me. So I don't know who to give credit to. So if you see it, scrolling through your Instagram post, that's who did it. And so credit them for it. But I want to tell you my thoughts on these principles that I agreed with this young man. He was not a young man. I think he was about my age. Some of the principles he put forth of things he's reevaluated and he would do different. 5 of them paralleled my life. So let me start number 1 right now. I would do even more of a prioritization on the secret place than I would the stage. More prioritization on the secret place than the stage. I've always been a prayer. I can look you right in the eyes. You can ask my wife. My wife often said, if you can't find Ron, I know where he's at. He's somewhere talking to God. And I've taken that as one of the greatest compliments of my life. But my preparation time in the secret place never paralleled my preparation time for the stage. And what I've noticed looking back on my life, the more time I put in preparation of the secret place, the easier the stage became. And so when you've put in the proper time spiritually, the secret place meaning your devotional life with God, your quiet time before God, you're learning from him speaking to you, you learning his nature, you learning his ways, and just that interaction with God, that communion with God, my personal worship over stage worship, my personal praise over stage praise, my personal Bible study over sermon preparation Bible study. And I had a hard time for many years. I couldn't read anything without it turning into a sermon, because that's what I do. I'd speak, and I speak all the time. And, I want to say something. I want to go in the room, and I want to have something to say. That means a lot to me. I try to hold a high bar to myself, substance-wise, to make sure that substance-wise, I have something to say, something what people can take with them, and their life has been enhanced when they leave. Not just inspired, but somebody that has been imparted to through the words that God has given me. But I look back over my life and the times where I really, really leaned into God. For one of them, this past transfer conference, there was stuff breaking out almost every session. Look, guys, we had a full-blown move of God that broke out of a podcast. I want you to think about it. The whole place laid out and looked like a war zone. Me and Hope laid hands on like 1,500 people. And miracles had people shaking and trembling under the power of God, getting near people and then falling out under the power of God. It was unbelievable. And it came out of a podcast. Now, there'd have been a long time ago where I would have put so much preparation on making sure that was a quality podcast, and it would have been a good podcast, but nothing would have broken out. But when I'd put preparation on the secret place, God can break out anywhere, anything at any time, and nobody forgets a move of God. They forget podcasts. They forget YouTube videos. They forget reels. They forget your 15-second pop culture principle that you threw out, on an Instagram graphic. That stuff goes away. But when somebody has been changed forever because they came face to face with the raw glory of God, and they were changed and affected by it, and they get up and they're different, those are things that people never forget. Those are the kind of things that always happen when there's been a great deal of emphasis on the secret place. I want to always be prepared for a service. I want to always have a planning meeting. I want to always make sure I do plenty of sermon prep. But right now at 56 to 57 years old, I look back and I try to prioritize the secret place over that, because I have seen when you have prepared yourself spiritually, God can use you to bring about any move and any result in the building. So that's number one. Principle that I saw from somebody else that I agree with in my life, but these are my thoughts on it, okay? Number two, this is a big one. I would chase obedience rather than opportunities. I've went around America and some parts of the world, but mainly America, the late 90s and early 2000s, because I was the voice of change to denominations. So classical denominational systems, by that Assembly of God, Kojic, Full Gospel Baptist, Pentecostal Holiness, Church of God, Congregational Holiness, all those denominations tend to be spirit-filled. I went into all of those and I preached change and church reformation, changing the sound, changing the structure. Only to find myself around 2008, 9, and 10 was the rise of the millennials coming into real leadership within the church, and the hard line shift, and I mean a hard shift. It was not gradual, it was overnight, to highly produced services, high level production. Some churches almost Broadway level production, where all the emphasis was on cameras and angles and technology and social media and video clips and reels and Facebook Live and Instagram Live and online church and everything everything just became polished. I had built an entire reputation, I don't want to say brand, but reputation of spontaneity. And that was really who I am. Most of the time, I didn't know what I was going to preach till I walked in the room. Sometimes I didn't know what I was going to preach till I picked up the microphone. So my study life was basically deepening my well as deep as I could so that when I went in the pulpit, I could teach on anything. In other words, I have these topics where I have gone in and rehearsed, and the Word of God is inside me on those topics. And so whatever I'm feeling needs to be done in the building, I can go in that direction. And there were a lot of people that would come and say, what is Ron going to do next? Because Ron didn't even know what Ron was going to do next. And there was a certain excitement and that went along with that, and a certain, the Holy Spirit's got to be in this, because he's not even prepared for this, and then all of a sudden God just uses him for an hour. And I go to creative directors wanting to know what I'm going to preach 6 months from now. I went into services that had a deal of chaos to them, where now everybody's wanting the thing that is highly polished and highly produced. And so those waters were hard for me to navigate, because I couldn't change yet until I changed me. I couldn't tell you what I was going to preach next Sunday. I sure couldn't tell you what I was going to preach next year. And there were some of these pastors going in and giving their marketing and graphics department, what they were going to preach for the next 12 months. That was as foreign to me as going to another country. And so wanting to be relevant, not wanting to be hypocritical, not wanting to preach change to everybody until it became my generation's time to change. I became something that I really wasn't. Some of you that followed me maybe during that time, you may say, he don't preach the way he used to, or he's not. I was always the same guy. But I felt like I had to put myself in different wrapping paper to be relevant to a new generation. When a seed produces after its own kind, as the Bible says, you tend to draw people that are like you, your age, your values, that they're like you. But when you get older, if you want the younger generation, that is not a seed after your kind. Instead of it being a natural draw, it has to be an intentional draw. So I had to redo the wrapping paper, the wineskin, so to speak, because I didn't want to lose the wine. But in doing so, I think I backed off of who I was and what God called me to do. And those were probably about 6 to 8 of the not so fun years of my life. And those are probably also years where I saw the least impact of my ministry on the life of people, when I tried to follow suit and not lose my core values, but put me in a wineskin that diminished the gift that God had given me somewhat. And so I look back on that, and I would do that differently. I would just stay the course, because what I'm realizing is it's cyclical. And if you just stay the course, it comes right back around to you, because Gen Z now is pedal to the floor, wide open, high octane, Holy Ghost, don't care how ugly it is, meet in a barn if that's where God is. Could care less about the production and the polish. And so the gift that God gave me, a generation is coming back around. And now that is the fastest growing demographic of my church, Redemption, of any other demographic, is this Gen Z generation. Why? Because they are my kind. If I had that to do over again, I would just try to obey God, rather than seize opportunities, to capture people, but at the expense of being something that I'm really not. God doesn't anoint something you were never meant to be. He anoints who you were meant to be. And the more I crawled back into my armor and didn't try to use Saul's armor, I saw God begin to sharpen my tools again like never before. That's number 2. Number 1, the secret place over the stage. Number 2, prioritize obedience over opportunities. Number 3, I would prioritize making friends before I'm in a crisis. I never put value in friendships, and I wore my loneliness like a badge of honor. And many of you know the stories of the difficulties and challenges we faced, but in the darkest, dark times of my life, I remember one time driving out, almost like the Castaway scene in South Carolina, and I just started driving and ended up at a wheat field. And it was a 4-way stop. And I don't even know where I was in the middle of nowhere. Don't even remember how I got back. I was just distraught, emotional, so low, so broken. And I stopped, and just with tears in my eyes, I'm scrolling through my phone, and I came upon one of the most chilling realities of my life. And there was nobody in my life that I didn't lead. Everybody in my phone, I was their leader. I had this. I had my relationship with God. I had a couple of mentors. I had my relationship to the people I led, but I had none of this. I had no one I could call and said, I need a friend. I need to talk. And you don't wait till you need rescuing. You don't wait till crisis to try to develop relationships that you can lean on and draw from in hard times. The way you spell relationship is T-I-M-E. And I never made time for them. I had ministry acquaintances. And I had people, don't get me wrong, I had people that if I'd have called, they'd have showed up. I had people that cared about me, but I had no one that I had cultivated enough of a relationship with that I could reveal my deepest vulnerabilities and my deepest level of brokenness. There was nobody in my life that I had vetted or qualified or cultivated to hear that kind of information. And I'm gonna tell you something, if I had not have had a God to go to, I wouldn't have made it. I just wouldn't have made it. Because when your heart is so under pressure, you have to ventilate somewhere. And the mouth and conversation is the way you ventilate. And I didn't have people, I had a God to go to, but that was my fault. Because I realize now there are people that care about Ron Carpenter. There are people that would have come to Ron Carpenter's aid, people that would come to help. But I never was intentional about having a relationship because I thought there was some high calling to my aloneness. I did feel like a unicorn. I did feel like one crying in the wilderness. I always kind of felt that way. I was always beating against the system. The system actually threw me out legally, threw me out. I mean, I instead of crying over it, I turned it and let that become my strength and wore it proudly. I'm the outcast. I'm the gunslinger. I'm out here and, I'm going to do my thing. And when life hit, I needed a friend, but I never prioritized it. So number one, again, I would have prioritized the secret place over the stage. Number two, I wouldn't wait till I need rescuing or in a crisis to have a friend. Number three, I would chase obedience instead of opportunities. Number four, I would build people and not programs. I cannot tell you the hours I have spent designing systems and structures. None of it's bad. I heard Craig Rochelle, I didn't hear him say it, I saw him write it one time in a script on Instagram. Powerful comment. He says, you don't rise to the level of your vision. I may not be quoting it exactly right, but along the lines of you don't rise to the level of your vision, you fall to the level of your systems. And I was always a firm believer that churches didn't grow not because the preaching's bad or the music's bad or the facilities dated, but churches didn't grow because they were not structured to grow. And so I spent a lot of my time designing systems, designing, teaching, and implementing structure. And we have a highly structured ministry, highly structured organizational flow chart from C-suite on down. And we put a lot of time in that, and that helps the church run effectively and efficiently and hopefully gives us room to expand and to grow. Hopefully we've built an expandable model. But in doing so, I did not take the time to look around me, and they may have been built up by their connection, maybe by watching my life, I hope so, but taking the initiative to be intentional about pouring legacy into those around me. See, inheritance is what I leave for you. Legacy is what I leave in you. Let me say that again. Inheritance is what I leave for you, but legacy is what I leave in you. And if I had that time to do over, I would still build the systems, but I would also look at the people sitting in the room and make sure I was investing myself, who I am, my character, imparting the parts of my life that I know God had developed and done great things in my life to give it away as fast as I could to other people. I'm still in the game and I'm trying to do a better job with that. And I still have years left to do that. But over the first 35, I look back, I wish I'd have done a whole lot more of throwing my time and investment into building people like I did building programs. The last thing I would talk about is the Sabbath. I don't want to get in a theological debate. There's still people, Old Testament, 10 Commandments, the law, that believe, their Sunday is the Sabbath. Little problem with that because Jesus was picking and eating in the fields on the Sabbath. And when they challenged him, he said he was Lord of the Sabbath. I don't believe, that there is a judicial, legalistic law of the Sabbath that is against me as a New Testament believer. Okay? Because I believe Jesus is my rest. Okay, everybody talks about the 50-year Jubilee. Well, Jesus is my Jubilee. Okay? However, whether or not it is a literal day or a literal Sunday, I do believe it is a literal principle. The principle of rest. I had a work ethic of an ox. You are not going to outwork me. Didn't need sleep. Didn't need rest. Didn't need vacations. And just plow through anything. And that lasts for a while. And then that thing creeps up on you and catches up with you. A lot of the major hurts in our lives probably could have been averted with proper use of rest. I'm not talking about a night's sleep, and I've had to work on that too. And I thank God that I'm probably the healthiest in my sleep habits that I've ever been, because there was a time my sleep habits were horrible. I'm thankful for that. You don't know, but when you can't sleep, whew. But a rest from my duties. I have begun to realize how much better I am when I Sabbath. When I set aside time where I'm not going to call you and you're not going to call me, and I'm going to do my best. I can't absolve myself from my responsibilities, but I can't absolve myself from activities. Let me say that again. I can't absolve myself from my responsibilities. They are forever with me 24 hours a day. But I can remove myself from ministry activity. And as I've gotten older, I have learned the necessity of that Sabbath in my life. And I'm going to tell you, it has made me better. Because I take more Sabbath than I have by far at any time in my life. But I think I minister more effectively, maybe by far as well, than I have at any other point in my life. A lot of what was done in my previous years was just out of sheer work. But now I realize, give God the time that is necessary to ministry, then let God take me to a place of rest where he leads me beside still waters and he restores my soul. There is no such thing as spiritual burnout. If you're burned out, it means you've not been in the Spirit, because the Spirit doesn't burn out. The spirit world is inexhaustible. If I'm burned out, I've not been in spiritual things. I've been in me. I've been in my flesh, and flesh grows weary. But when I can be spiritual, and a part of that spirituality is a Sabbath, it is understanding there has to be intermittent rest, where there has to be something outside of your calling that you give yourself to, and a time where God can replenish you. Ministry, life itself, the nature of it depletes. The only thing that restores is getting away from it and time with God. And he restores your soul. 5 principles. I saw them with somebody else. 10 of them, 5 of these agreed with my life. I jotted them down, and these are my thoughts on them. If you're 20s listening to me today, don't wait till you're 50 to reevaluate. Do it now. I don't think everybody has to get to 50, 60, 70 years old and then start listing all the things they screwed up. Look at it now. Are these things in your life a priority right now? And I'm not just talking about to ministers. I'm talking about, mine was prioritize the secret place over stage. Yours should be prioritizing the secret place over whatever it is you do. I live my life on the stage, discipling people. There's nothing wrong with making sure you are prepared for that. But the greater preparation should have came in my time with God, and that makes what I do on the stage much easier. It'll make what you do much easier too, and you don't burn out. So look at these 5 things, see where they relate to your life. I know this is a kind of a serious one. It's one where hopefully you learn something, hope you can go back and reflect and take some inventory and then make some positive changes. And maybe you want to get somebody else in here and look at it with you and say, you know what, I was listening to Pastor Ron and these things right here, these 3 things really hit me, and you and your wife can sit down, you and your husband can sit down, you and your boss sit down, you and your business partner sit down, and just really reevaluate, because when is the time of change? Right now. Right now is the time of change. So I leave this with you. This is a serious one in the middle of the funny ones that me and Hope do, and I hope that somehow it has affected you in a positive way. I'm running literally right up on my half hour that I allotted to do this. So subscribe, hit the like button, tell somebody about it, tell them, say, hey, I got something out of this, I think you would too, and let everybody know, because the more people that watch it, the more people that watch it. And that's the way this works. Go catch my AI app, Run Carpenter AI. Ask it any questions you want to from my 35-year archive of teaching, preaching, praying, offerings, conferences, discipleship, Wednesday nights, Sundays, everything I've ever done to help answer your question and be a great discipleship tool. Ron Carpenter AI. And then if you want to know where it's drawing its information, I have the Vault. And the Vault, you have to go through the Ron Carpenter app. It is subscription-based, but it is every message in full length over the entire tenure of my ministry. I would love for you to have it. So hit the like button, subscribe again, tell somebody about today's podcast, and I love you guys, and hopefully this has helped somebody. Until next time, this is Ron and Hope, Unfiltered, Real, Raw, and Relevant. We'll see you soon.